mother heads of the Jews. But now once he puts you on the pedestal, it is not forever. You have to do the work, produce the fruits. You don't produce the fruits, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. He will substitute in your place another people. That's the law. Allah, why don't people learn? That's the law. So the Muslims spread out. They went as far as Spain, as far as the Atlantic coast. They went and conquered Spain, and they ruled that country for 800 years. Muslims ruled the European nation, Spain, for 800 years. No Christian nation has ever ruled Muslims for that period of time. Do you know that? The longest that they ever ruled was in Mozambique, the Portuguese. See, Mozambique is a Muslim territory. Even today, 60% of the people of Mozambique are Muslims. Here, next door to us. This place was an Arab outpost, trading post. And there was a governor there when the Portuguese came along and conquered them. There was a governor by the name of Musa bin Baik. Musa bin Baik was the governor of that territory. When the Portuguese, with his superior gun power, he came and knocked hells into them and conquered the place. Whose place? Musa bin Baik. They couldn't say Musa bin Baik, so they say Mozambique. That's how the name Mozambique comes about. The Muslims went crossed the straits, the sea between Africa and Spain, and landed at a place, Jabal. They called that mountain Jabal al-Tariq. Tariq was the commander who crossed over from Africa to Spain, and the place where they landed, they called that mount Jabal al-Tariq. Now, the Westerners, they call it Gibraltar. Jabal al-Tariq, they say Gibraltar. The Muslims went as far as the Philippines. They had the trading post there. Ma'manullah. By the help of Allah, they reached there. Ma'manullah. They say Manila. Muslim. The longest that the Christians ever ruled Muslims was in Mozambique for 500 years. They ruled your motherland, Indonesia, for 300 years, the Dutch. 300 years. Longest was in Mozambique, 500 years. The Muslims ruled Spain for 800 years. What were they doing? Muslims were having a jolly good time, Allah. As the Afrikaner is having now, here, the white man, same thing. The Muslim was same position. In Spain for 800 years he had it. The Afrikaner is here only for 300 years. He's having a good time. The halwa and the nice things here. He's having it only for 300 years. The Muslims had it for 800 years. And they're listening to the dire warnings of the Quran. Allah is warning them. He's warning us all times. The warnings are eternal. وَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. Before that, say كَمْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. كَمْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ وَزُوءٍ وَمَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ وَنِعْمَةٍ كَانُوا فِيهَا فَاكِهِينَ كَذَلِكَ أَوْرَثْنَاهَا قَوْمًا آخَرِينَ فَمَا بَقَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَا كَانُوا مُنْظَرِينَ. They read this. They read in the Salat, during the Quranic, the Rakats, in our Salat, they read. During the Taraweeh, they read. And they read the Tilawat in the homes, they read. These are Arabs. They understood what they were reading. It was the language. In our case, we have a lame excuse for saying we don't understand. It's an excuse we have. We don't understand what we read. Allah has given us warning, but this is like water on duck's back because we didn't know what the warnings were about. So now I want to put you in a dangerous situation. I said, look, get the translation. So you won't have any more excuses. That's why you are afraid. Don't buy. You are in deeper trouble. Yes. Now you want to read. Allah is telling you this. Say, man. And if you don't heed the warning, double trouble. Rather be in single trouble. Just say, I didn't know. If you think you'll get away with that. The Arab is reading this in his own mother tongue. And Allah is warning him. Kam taraku min jannatin wa uyun. So how many were the gardens and the fountains they left behind? وَزُوٍ وَمَكَامٍ كَرِيمٍ, and cornfields and monumental buildings. وَنِعْمَةٍ كَانُوا فِيهَا فَاكِهِينَ, and wealth and the amenities of life in which they took so much delight. كَذَلِكَ أَوْرَثْنَاهَا قَوْمًا آخَرِينَ, thus other people were made to inherit these things. فَمَا بَقَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَا كَانُوا مُنْزَرِينَ, and neither the heavens nor the earth shed a tear for them, nor was respite given to them anymore. They read it. But when they read it, they're thinking about the Egyptians. They're thinking about the Egyptians, the fool, the Pharaoh. Allah, look at them. The garden they had, and the fountain they had, and the monumental building, the pyramids and the sphinx. Oh, what must they had? And cornfields, everything they had, the richest, one of the most richest civilized nation at the time was Egypt. And the fool, he didn't heed the warning. Allah sends plague after plague, warnings after warnings. He didn't heed. Eventually Allah destroyed him in the Red Sea, drowned him and his hordes and his troops. He drowned him in the Red Sea. You see that fool? He didn't learn. He didn't learn. See what Allah did to him? The fool doesn't know that he is in the firing line now. While he's reading, he is in the firing line. Because when you read this today, as soon as you read this, you think of Spain. Wallah. If you ever go to Spain, if you ever visit that country, you see that the Alhambra, the Cordova, all these beautiful cities that the Muslims left behind, beautiful buildings, and fountains in disuse. That's the only thing that there is that one can see in Spain. Besides the bullfights, if you're interested in bullfights, that they can show bullfights. And the women, when they do the dancing, they have something on the fingers called castanets. They make when they. Besides that, there's nothing in Spain except the buildings that our forefathers left. That's all that there is to see. But for 800 years, Allah gave them a mighty long inning to do the job. No, they won't do the job. You know why? Because proud, arrogant. So these Spanish people, pig eaters, what can they understand about Islam? Drunkards. What can they understand about Islam? That's the mentality. We have the same. You see, when I'm talking about something, think whether we are in the same sickness we have, the sickness that they have. These colored people, what can they understand about Islam? The amount of alcoholics in South Africa. Their alcoholic rate is 5 times that as of any other race in the country. Can they understand anything about Islam? At the slightest pretext, they're ready to bash you. On one of my trips, I was in Elsie's River. I think brother Mohamed, he had his supermarket there, and we just got the message that the power failed. So he wanted some cranking machines to work the tills. So he said, come on, let's go. So we went. So he was giving the cranking machines, to work the till because the power was not working. So I'm standing there looking, and I see an African there, and somehow I seemed to be quite an intelligent African. So I'm telling him, I said, these people here, I can't make out the difference whether these people are Muslim or not. There's no indication. So he tells me, he says, sir, I lived here in Elsie's River before they pushed us out to Gugule and Lanka and whatever. Before they pushed us, we used to live among them. And I can tell you, very easy to find the difference. He said, how? He said, you see, about 3 times these coloreds, they bashed me up for no reason. Drink and they says, bash up kafir, bloody kafir. These Malay people, they're very good people. They don't do that. That's his way of identifying. The color and the Malay. Otherwise we look the same. Am I right? Look, in your looks, there is no difference. Wallah, there is no difference. In your surnames, there is no difference. In your language, there is no difference. The only thing that indicates that you are a Muslim is when I see the kufiya on your head, I say, no, this guy is a Muslim. Otherwise, how can I know? No? Mrs. Johnson visits me. Johnson. I say, are you Muslim? She says, yes. I said, what's your husband? He says, also Johnson. She is a Muslim. I said, yes.